Hey folks, well first off let me tell you I have a terrible cold, so if I sound like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, forgive me, and I'm also hopped up on cold medication, so if I stop making sense, enjoy. Anyway, today was Dr. Conrad Murray was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter in the death of Michael Jackson. And I gotta say I'm pretty happy with his verdict, and I didn't always think I would be because I've been kind of back and forth on this one. You know, from the beginning, I kind of felt like I didn't really want him to be convicted or even tried because part of me doesn't want doctors to be, you know, in fear of being tried for murdering their patients when their patients die. And I don't want a doctor to be afraid to try unconventional methods, you know, that other doctors may think is gonna is not safe just because, you know, the patient might die. I would think, you know, if I had a deadly disease and a doctor says this might help you or it might kill you, and I'm willing to take the risk, you know, that I wouldn't want the doctor to suffer because of that. And but that's really not what happened in this case. Michael Jackson couldn't sleep without propofol. Personally, I can't sleep without the Golden Girls. Every night when I go to bed, I put in a Golden Girls DVD and I have to sleep to that. If the power goes out, I wake up like that because I need to hear the Golden Girls. Every night I sleep with Blanche, Dorothy, Sophia, and Rose, and I can't sleep without them. Now, sometimes I can sleep like with other shows on, but I have nightmares. I know this sounds crazy, but the point is, I can't sleep perfectly without the Golden Girls. Michael Jackson couldn't sleep without propofol. Now, I know eventually, somehow, I could learn to sleep without the Golden Girls, and Michael Jackson could have learned to sleep without propofol. He just didn't need to. And I don't need to learn to sleep without the Golden Girls as long as I have my DVDs. And so, it wasn't a life-threatening disease. This wasn't something that was going to kill him. Although I think some people have died of insomnia, but I don't think he was in any danger of that. I think it was an easy way to sleep, and he had become dependent on it. So I think it's different with Conrad Murray. You know, we have. I think a lot of people are split on it too. This is like one of the only cases I've seen where people don't seem to be split down the line of Michael Jackson fan versus non-Michael Jackson fan, because I've known a lot of Michael Jackson fans that don't believe that Conrad Murray should have even been tried for manslaughter. Even though they love Michael Jackson, they believe that he brought it on himself. You know, he was a drug addict. He was a junkie. And at the same time, I know a lot of people that believe that Michael Jackson was a dirty child molester that should have been hung 10 years ago, but they still believe that Conrad Murray is guilty. So I don't believe it falls on the line of fan versus non-fan. But at the same, I hear a lot of people saying that Michael was a junkie, and so Conrad Murray should be not guilty because Michael would have died anyway. He brought it on himself. But you know, that doesn't make much sense because sure, he was a junkie, he was addicted to drugs, but shouldn't we have why should a doctor be found not guilty for providing those drugs? That doesn't make much sense to me. Let's say, for instance, a woman decides to kill her husband with a hitman. Should the hitman be found not guilty because the husband would have died anyway? The wife would have eventually found somebody to do it. You know, Michael would have eventually found somebody to give him the propofol. But does that mean that the doctor that gave it to him should be off the hook for it? I don't think so. And it is true, he was a junkie, he was on drugs. And one of the main arguments I hear is, well, then why not prosecute all drug dealers for giving drugs to their patients when that's what kills them? Why not prosecute the man who sold heroin to Kurt Cobain? And honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I think they're dirty scum. But I think we should hold our doctors to higher standards than we hold our street thugs. Or bartenders. Should bartenders be held accountable when someone dies after someone leaves the bar and drives home drunk? I don't think so. I mean, we're talking about a man who makes $150,000 a month to provide personal care to someone, as opposed to someone who makes tips to get someone drunk. And so it's a completely different scenario. You know, I want my doctors to be looking out for my best interest and not to be looking out just for the money, which is what Conrad Murray was doing. So I totally believe that he should have been found guilty. Honestly believe he could have been found, if the jury had had the option, he probably would have gotten a harsher charge than involuntary manslaughter because, I mean, come on. He didn't even know how to do CPR. I kind of, a part of me leans toward the Jackson family theory of a hired hit. I know I mean, there's no evidence of it really, but it just seems kind of off to me that you have a doctor that graduated med school and was apparently so revered in his profession that he went on to be the personal physician of the most famous person in the world, but he didn't even know how to properly administer CPR and couldn't even properly cover up his own idiocy. And so what a perfect way to kill someone if you were hired to do that. So I'm not convinced that it wasn't a hired hit. I'm not convinced that it was, but I'm just saying, I'm hopped up on whatever. I feel like Michael Jackson now sitting here all hopped up, and I don't know if I'll be able to sleep because I can't breathe. Maybe they need to turn Dr. Murray loose and give me some propofol. I don't know. Oh, no, that was just wrong of me, but y'all can't blame me for that. Blame Dr. Murray. Now, I figured he would be found guilty. The main defense theory is that Michael Jackson administered the fatal dose to himself, which never made any sense because he was paying a doctor. If I was paying a housekeeper to clean my whole house, and I came home one day to find my dishes dirty in the sink, and the housekeeper was off talking on the phone, I would holler and say, "Hey, get in here and wash these dishes." I wouldn't wash them myself out of frustration. So I don't believe at all that Michael Jackson administered the fatal dose to himself out of frustration. That doesn't make any sense. Michael Jackson is not the type of person that would have paid somebody to do something and then do it himself just because they wouldn't. I mean, did you ever see the pictures of his unkept house? I mean, at Neverland when they did that raid and his house was like, he looked like a hoarder. He wasn't the type of person to do things himself when he could pay somebody else to do it. So I believe he would, if he had woke up and were frustrated, he would have hollered and said, "Hey, you get your ass back in here and you put me back to sleep." So that doesn't make any sense. The defense, it's like they didn't even put up a real defense. And what a good way to go about it. If you are a hired hit, wouldn't it be better to get convicted of second-degree manslaughter, where 4 years at most is what you're going to serve? Probably house arrest for a few months, maybe Lindsay Lohan type justice, where you don't do any time, and that way you're never going to be tried again. You can never be tried again. You can never be forced to testify against anybody else. So I think it's the perfect. It would make the perfect murder. I think it would make a good Hollywood movie. I don't know if it's true or not, but I think the Jacksons have a very strong point when they believe that it was, because Michael Jackson is worth a lot more dead than he was alive. We all like to think that these celebrities are junkies. Lindsay Lohan's a junkie, and Michael Jackson was a junkie, and River Phoenix and Kurt Cobain and all these people, they were junkies. But what if they were our loved ones? What if they were people that we cared about? Would you think of them as, oh well, they're going to die anyway? No, you wouldn't think of that. You would think, wait a minute, somebody gave them something that killed them and was totally negligent, and they died because of it. If not, they would still be alive today. And so I think you would think a lot differently about it. I think a lot of people think differently about it if they know or have cared about someone that is a drug addict. And some people don't. So I believe it's on that lines more of on the celebrity lines. But anyway, that's it for today. So what do you all think? Do you all think he should have been... Some people are comparing it to the Casey Anthony trial, and I don't get that at all. I mean, it's two completely different cases. Now, I said from the get-go I didn't think that Casey Anthony was going to be found guilty because they didn't really have any proof of murder. And so it's two completely different trials, much different evidence. I believe there was much stronger evidence against Conrad Murray, and so that's why he was found guilty. Anyway, so what do you all think about the case? Do you think that he should have been found guilty or not guilty? Okay, I'll see you folks later.